William MacAskill, welcome to The Daily Show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm a huge fan.
It's interesting speaking to a philosopher, because when they say philosopher, I remember thinking, oh, it's probably going to be like a 90-year-old man with like a stick, and what is the meaning of life? And where are we? But
I can't even grow a beard. I'm like, I suck as a philosopher.
You're not just young. You're very successful. You're a professor who deals with, I guess, are you dealing with some of the biggest moral issues in society? Help me understand what your field of expertise actually is.
So I'm a little different from a normal moral philosopher because I'm a little less head in the sky, clouds. I want to make the world a better place.
Okay.
And so I'm asking the question, how can we do as much as possible to make the world better? That's what effective altruism is about. And so the moral questions that I'm addressing are those that we need to figure out if we want to answer that question, where there are just so many problems in the world. Extreme poverty, factory farming, chance of a next pandemic. How do we prioritize among them if we want to do as much good as we can?
Is it even possible to do that? You know, one of the first questions somebody may ask in response to you is, are humans inherently good? What would you say to them if they ask that question?
I think in response to that, just humans are very malleable. So people can be inspired to do amazing things, terrific things. Again, I've seen this. Now thousands of people committing to give at least 10% of our income, often much more, to those causes that will do the most good. So by promoting the idea of effective altruism, I've seen many people get inspired to do good. But you can also inspire people to do bad. The history of the 20th century showed the banality of evil, just how people could, even good people, could get swayed by bad ideologies and produce horrific outcomes. So
let's talk a little bit about convincing people to give money to causes that will benefit the planet or humans around them. In this book, you talk about the future in a really interesting way, what we owe the future. Your argument, and correct me if I'm wrong, is basically that we have a moral obligation to sort of quote unquote our future self, like the future humans, the humans that will inhabit the planet, because what we come into was created or shaped by someone, and somebody's going to come into that, and so we have a moral obligation. Some people might say to you, oh yeah, well, I'm here now, and nobody did anything for me, so why should I care about what happens to somebody who's around when I'm not?
Yeah, or you might ask, what should we do for future people? What have they ever done for us?
Right. Well, and they haven't ever, because they're going to. What are they going to ever have done for us?
Exactly, for sure. But I think the idea that we should care about future people is just utterly common sense. So imagine you're walking, you're hiking on a trail, and you drop some glass, and it shatters, and you wonder, should I pick up the glass? Should I clean after myself? Maybe someone will walk along the trail and cut themselves. And you think, well, obviously I should because I don't want to harm someone.
Right.
But now just imagine, do they cut themselves tomorrow, or in a year's time, or in 100 years' time? Would that change the morality of the situation? I don't think so. Harm is harm, no matter when it occurs. And just as we should care about people, whether they're in this country or on the other side of the planet, no matter where they are in space, we should care about people no matter where they are in time as well.
So how do we begin to get people to agree with that? Because you're based in the UK, right? And so if I've read my research correctly, you donate, is it how many, 50% of your income?
Yeah, it's a little more than that actually now.
So you donate more than 50% of your income to causes that you believe in?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right, that's amazing. And some people would say insane, right? and when I heard that you did this, I remember thinking, oh, but is it easier to do it because you come from a place where your healthcare will be taken care of? Is it easier to do this because you feel like there's a social net? Or is it hard no matter where you're from? Like many Americans would say, well, I can't give away my money because I don't know how much a hospital bill will be. I can't give away my money because I don't know what I'm going to need to pay for or not. How do you convince people that giving away what they would say is hard-earned is actually better for them when it's for others?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things here. So one is just, I acknowledge I'm in this position of unbelievable privilege. I'm born into a rich country, I was well educated, and that means, I think I have like a responsibility to use, that privilege to do good in the world. But the striking thing is that even after my giving, so I try and give everything above about $35,000. That still puts me in the richest 3% of the world's population. if you're earning $60,000 per year, you're in the richest 1%. You are the 1%, globally speaking. And so I'm giving 50%, but I can hardly complain. I'm still in the richest 3%. But the crucial thing, really, is I thought this was going to be a sacrifice. I thought it was going to be hard, but worth it, because it was going to benefit so many people. But it's actually not. I've actually found it an incredibly rewarding thing to do. And I think my life is actually happier as a result. So it means, I don't have a big house. I don't have a fancy car.
Right.
But I do have wonderful relationships. I've got wonderful friends. I'm also part of this broader community, effective altruism community, that is inspiring, hardworking, people who are really focused on trying to make the world better. And I hope, at least, we're really making a positive difference. And that's worth more than all the luxury goods that money could buy.
Wow. It's a mind shift. I think it's a mind shift that's extremely difficult to achieve, which is, I guess why you do the work that you do. It's also interesting to see how many billionaires have signed on to your ideas. Everybody from Bill Gates to Elon Musk, who don't even agree with each other, by the way, and have both said, oh yeah, I really like what William is saying. I really agree with this. I think we should be giving away vast amounts of our wealth, etc. But when I see this, I often think to myself, it's easy for us to say people should give away 10%, 20%, whatever of their wealth. We say everyone should do this of their income. But when you get to a certain point, 10% or 20% of your income doesn't affect your life.
Yeah,
if you're a billionaire and you give away 10%, 20%, yes, it's a huge number, but it doesn't change this person's life. Whereas somebody who's working paycheck to paycheck notices when 10% or 20% of their money is gone. So shouldn't this be an obligation that is placed predominantly at the feet of those who are the most privileged?
So I think it's absolutely an obligation on the most privileged. So yeah, if you're a billionaire, so Bill Gates, ushered in a new era of billionaire philanthropy, saying 50%.
Right.
I think the standard should be higher, 99% or more. And so yeah, people are laughing, but a decent chunk of my life is talking to billionaires and trying to convince them to give almost all their money away. I want to know
what you say, William. Help me understand this. Help me understand.
So
Because billionaires are notorious for not giving their money away.
I think that's going to change. At
least. So what do you say? What do you say to them?
Well, at least for some. So we say two things. One, like you say, just money above a certain threshold, money just doesn't affect your well-being.
Right.
Come on. And then secondly, money can be used to make a transformative difference. It costs $3,000 to save a life by protecting children in sub-Saharan Africa from malaria by distributing insecticide-treated bed nets. This is a very reliable, well-evidenced fact.
So $3,000, and that's with insecticides, the bed nettings,
bed nets
to protect them from malaria, which is still one of the biggest, if not the biggest killer.
So thousands of children every day die unnecessarily. There are other risks too.
Right.
Pandemics is something we worry about, nuclear war. And so, the case is just like, look, it's going to make almost no difference in your life. It's going to be enormously impactful for the world.
Right.
And actually, we've seen success. So there are a number of people in the kind of broader effective altruism movement, Dustin Moskovitz, now Sam Bankman-Fried, who are planning to give 99% or more. And I think that can be the new standard.
Wow. When you talk in the book, there are parts that I read where you interrogate the reader to ask questions about how they view the world and I think most importantly, how much they want to make a difference. So for instance, you'll argue here, you say, if you want to make an impact in climate change, there are things you can do. For instance, you can become a vegetarian. You can say, okay, I'm going to try and limit my carbon output. If you really care, you can say, I'm going to travel less, I'm going to fly less, or I'm going to ride a bicycle more, or whatever it may be. You're talking to people and you're talking to individuals. Do you feel that the message is as well received by corporations that have like an outsized output? Because every one person can try to do one thing, but like most of the smoke that's coming out and most of the output, the carbon output it's coming from concentrated places. Yes, I'm not saying individuals don't make a big contribution, but do you find any of those big sources are receptive to this, or is the money too big and the face too obscure?
Yeah, honestly, I've been kind of pretty disappointed at attempts to move companies in a more philanthropic direction, because corporate philanthropy, 99% of the time, is a PR mechanism.
Okay.
And so some of the misconceptions that people have about how best to fight climate change, you can actually see being promoted by fossil fuel companies. So Shell is very keen on the idea that what we should be doing is reducing our carbon footprint personally.
Yes.
Whereas what we should be trying to do is put the fossil fuel companies out of business.
Well, I see why you haven't broken through.
And we as individuals can help do that. So look, if you try and reduce your own carbon footprint, in the US, American will emit about 15 tons of carbon dioxide. Go be a hero. Do everything you can. Maybe you can get that to 0. You can do as much good as if you'd never been born.
Okay.
That's the kind of standard. But we can do so much more than that. Donate 10% of your income. Let's say that's $3,000 for the very most targeted organizations funding clean technology, the sort of thing that means we no longer need to rely on fossil fuels.
Okay.
Then you would reduce the amount of carbon dioxide going into the atmosphere by something that's more like 3,000 tons per year.
Oh, wow.
So you'd be doing 200 times as much good with very targeted donations to the most effective nonprofits, even compared to this heroic effort to get your carbon footprint down to 0.
So just 3,000, it's like you have a choice, $3,000 or just never be born.
Yeah.
But $3,000 sounds cheap. Yeah. I think that sounds like a cheap plan.
I think it's pretty good.
Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you so much.
I wish I could encompass everything in the book, but that's why you wrote the book. I hope to see you again. William MacAskill, everybody. What We Owe the Future is available now.